next big thing?
Wow. Um, yeah, predicting the next big thing in robotics is always a bit speculative.
Right.
Even, I said earlier, several years ago, I said, this whole IMR thing, it was early stages. This is going to be a real disruption. Turns out that wasn't so far off the thing, but I wouldn't say anything I would talk about today is really going to predict the future. But I mean, it feels so rapidly evolving. As you mentioned, you're going to automate, you're going to see changes from just last year. It's
Right.
one of the reasons why the show's gone to an annual thing. Earlier in my career, every couple of years there's maybe a new iteration of something, and so it made sense. But today it's so rapidly changing. By the time we finish the conversation, somebody will come up with a new, aspect of sensor or some technology
Right.
that will say, "Wow, that's really something we want to
Yeah.
look into." So now, based on the current trends and exciting developments, at least I'm observing from my perspective, there are a few areas I do believe hold immense potential, and I explore that a little bit. Uh, Next big thing, I don't know, but for robots to truly integrate into our human-centric world, whether it's, as we talked about earlier, homes, maybe hospitals, diverse industrial settings, a human-like form factor offers inherent advantages in terms of navigating spaces, using tools, interacting with people. We talked about dexterities, recent advancements in AI, particularly around large language models and sophisticated, algorithms, coupled with more
Mhm.
efficient hardware sensors are making the dream of truly capable type humanoids closer to reality. So do I think that's the next big thing? Maybe not, but it's one of the next things in the future that's going to be real. I mentioned earlier NVIDIA and a collaboration aiming to enhancing humanoid intelligence. That is it is on the horizon. How long will it take? I don't know, but there's a lot of investment and commitments to that space. I mean, companies like 1X are also focusing on humanoid robots designed for domestic environments. So, Rosie is not so far away for us. I think it's one of the exciting things we'll see in the future. I hope so in my lifetime. I think that there's a real possibility of that. The integration we talked about earlier, advanced AI and going beyond just task specific programming into robots and lead to specific systems that can learn, adapt, and problem solve. That's
Mhm.
I mean, it's not completely there yet, but that is for me. That's one of the things I'd say is the next big thing. Really adapting to the physical environments. This embodied AI would allow robots to understand context, interact more naturally with humans, and handle the unforeseen situations. And that's where manufacturing has the biggest problem is really unforeseen situations. I really think that is on the horizon that to be something we'll see more implemented going forward. And I mentioned earlier, the idea of dexterous manipulation. I think that's another thing that's one of the next big things. A lot of investment strategies around that. A lot of companies come out with some really unique technology to support that. I'm fond of saying in the past, robots don't feel. Pretty soon I'm not going to be able to say that anymore because robots are starting to feel, and I think those
Right.
are key developments as we go forward. That the grip of design, that delicate capability, bionic hands, and hand sensory feedback on crucial elements. I
Right.
think that's probably one of the next big things that will happen, and there's a lot of reasons for it. So a lot of drivers for it. So therefore a lot of investment. And I'm going to go back on the AMR. I think that's going to continue to grow. It's putting us into places that we weren't in the past. We talk about fields with solar fields, agricultural. There's a lot of areas where in the past, and I've said this before, where we had to bring the product to where a fixed automation system was. We don't have to do that anymore. We can bring the technology to wherever that process is. That's a whole new world for us, and it's really starting to expand.
Well, and speaking of the future, what about this next generation of uh, children, young adults, and their education? How do STEM education pursuits? Uh, I mean, what is the importance of that, and how might that affect the robotics industry?
Ah, well, I hope we're making it exciting for them for sure. But I think for younger generations, becoming proficient in STEM, particularly robots, but I'd say that in a general term, like meaning automation, it offers a powerful, launch pad in the future, increasingly shaping technology and automation. I mean, the field of robotics is experiencing significant growth in itself. We talked about a lot of those things that are driving that, numerous industries and certainly in manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, space exploration, agriculture, as I mentioned, even in entertainment. I'm sure you know that the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a substantial increase in STEM jobs in the coming years.
Sure.
And one of the reasons is, robotics engineering is in high demand, or that technology. And I think due to the specialized skills required and high demand careers in robotics, STEM is related to that and often commands, fortunately for them, opportunity for competitive salaries. So offering also financial stability, rewarding careers, I think is even more important. I believe it's shaping it's changing the world, it's shaping the world, right? Robotics is in the forefront of innovation. It's offering opportunities to design, build, program intelligent machines that can solve complex problems and improve lives. And I really believe we are improving lives. We have over the last 40 years, and we'll continue to have more of an impact there. From developing robots for medical surgery, disaster response, creating sustainable architectural solutions, exploring space. I mean, the potential for making a real world impact is really immense. So if that's of interest, it's just an exciting place to be in. Robotics they're being developed to tackle critical global challenges. We talk about environmental cleanups and what we're doing to help save the planet that way, assisting the elderly and disabled, even, the typical dangerous tasks are going beyond the manufacturing dangerous task, allowing humans to focus more on, work-life balance, creative opportunities, and even strategic endeavors. So it's really a way even to help the world beyond just the engineering marvel of it. And I think there's other things and it's not just this space, but developing some skills. Robotics, education inherently fosters logical thinking, problem solving, analytical skills. Students learn to break down complex challenges into, as we would say, probably smaller, manageable steps, develop creative solutions. And sometimes that's through experimentation and iteration. So it's a fun way to get into something and do some trial and error and see the fruits of that labor. Designing, building robots encourage creativity, ingenuity. And, I think particularly in our industry, there's often no right single way to achieve the goal. So it's really offers creativity of, people working together and coming up with solutions together. So that whole, creative work environment together, I think that's a real positive. And because it's such a dynamic space, and I've often said, I think we should all be lifelong learners, but it forces you to be, because it's such a dynamic space. It's changing so constantly. It's evolving. It's requiring adapt and really commit to lifelong learning. I think from that point it's exciting. Again, maybe in conclusion, the future will be dominated by automation technologies and advancements, and a workforce equipped with strong STEM skills, and robotics will offer that particularly exciting opportunity for the younger generation. By engaging in robotics, not only they prepare themselves for high demand, well-paying careers, but also they'll develop some crucial skills, contribute to innovation, become active participants in shaping technology, but again, shaping the world. And the hands-on, creative, and impactful nature of robotics makes it especially attractive field for those who want to make a tangible difference.
Joe, I expected this to be an enlightening and insightful conversation, but you have delivered in spades, my friend. Great answer. I mean, really great answers to some difficult questions at times, I think, too. Thanks so much for talking with me. It's been a real pleasure.